Hello and welcome to week one, part one of the Electrical Code Coach training program. Okay, so our heart is to help you become everything you can be in life and the electrical industry. Our goal is to equip and train those individuals seriously interested in becoming a licensed electrician at all stage from beginner to veteran. Listen, whether you're working on your cards, whether you're working on some certifications, whether you're working to become an inspector, we want to help you at all stages. We want to encourage you in life. We want to see your life changed. We want to help you. This program was designed to help you. Okay, guys, let's get started with a little bit of an introduction. I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. So I am the baby of 7 children. I had 4 sisters and 2 brothers. And if you wanted to say something in our house, you had to say it loud. Especially me, I was the baby. And if you wanted to speak up, you had to go get it. So we grew up absolutely dirt poor. I mean dirt poor. But my mom had so much love. My dad taught me an excellent work ethic. My mom was so good, I didn't even know really how poor we were. I remember one time when I was 5 years old, couldn't touch the feet with the floor from a chair. And we had to have cereal with water for whatever reason. And I remember my mom making me and my sister feel like the cool kids on the block because we got to have cereal and water. I don't know if my sister that was home at the time believed that, but I believed it. I remember just feeling like the cool kid. So that's just how my mom was. So I'm a father of 4 children myself. I take it very seriously. I started down a really bad path and have been fortunate to come out of that path and to have a beautiful wife, 4 children. I'm just very thankful and love being a part of everything that I've been allowed to be a part of. I'm a licensed electrician. I cannot explain the doors that will be open for you if you get your electrical license or your electrical cards or your certifications, whatever that looks like for you. The respect you'll get, you'll make more money. I'm respected by doctors, lawyers. Somebody asks who you are, what do you do? Oh, I'm a licensed electrician. It's immediate respect. You're going to increase your family's wage. You're going to increase your family's respect. You're going to increase the pride that you have in your life and in your family. And that's just an awesome feeling. So, and if you're filling out an application, 4 people are unlicensed and you're the only licensed one, you're more likely to get the job and be able to demand higher money. I'm the president of our local electrical contractors association. It's a group of electrical contractors that I think it's been going on for 40 years, so well longer than I've been alive. And it's a group that gets together and, they meet 4 times a year. We get together, have pizza, fellowship, and and it's men and women, and it's supply reps. It's not just electricians, supply reps. It's inspectors. It's the whole group. So we all get together, meet, have fellowship, and then we usually listen to a code lesson or something pertinent in our field. We'll have reps come out sometimes and display products. So I really encourage you to get plugged into your local electrical community. If you will position yourself in a way that shows that you don't know it all and also bring to the market what you do know, because likely you've installed something that I haven't and somebody else has installed something that you haven't. And if you will, position yourself not as a threat, but as a help to the community, you'll be amazed at the doors that open up for you and how there's an attitude shift. So just like I said, don't ever pretend like you know it all. Nobody knows it all in the electrical industry. That's what I love about it. And if you'll offer what you have to bring to the table to the community, it will open up many doors for you and make great connections to where you can get to where you can call an inspector after hours, or you could call a colleague after hours if you got in the middle of a motor installation and didn't know what to do. So you really want to strengthen those relationships and build those. So I'm a certified electrical inspector. At one point I did go work for the state, but by the time they took out for 2 retirements, I always joke and say that benefits don't buy bread. So it was just the wrong time for the size family I have and the income that we were used to living on. But I'm very thankful for the opportunity. It has opened up many doors for me and made lifetime friendships and connections during that time. So I encourage you, while you're taking these tests, go get your inspector certifications, get your ICCs or your IAEIs. That will open up a whole nother set of doors for you and community and people. So while you're testing, go ahead and get your license. Go ahead and get your inspector certifications. Listen, you could get into a bad accident tomorrow and you might not be able to physically work anymore, but you could go inspect. So, and we're going to need so many more inspectors over the next 30 years. So I really encourage you to get your inspector certifications. It's opened up a lot of doors and has, brings a lot of respect that it carries. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I flat out get it while others are out playing and joking. I'm grinding. I'm working on something. I own my own electrical company. I also have worked myself up to where I became attractive enough to work for another electrical company, and I still run my business on the side. I have several websites, other businesses, East 10 advertising, and other different things that I do. I also own the Electrical Code Coach program. So listen, never let anyone tell you what you can or cannot do. You can absolutely, one of the greatest forms of payback, I guess you could say, is success. One of the greatest forms of victory over all your haters is success. So while everybody's out playing, joking around, it's all fun, I'm grinding. And that's what you can be doing. This isn't about me. I'm just letting you know that, listen, don't let anybody tell you what you can or cannot do. You can do it. Show them you can do it and get out here and grind. So one of the things that I'm working on right now is a 10-year initiative. It's called the Electrical Project Zero, and is a 10-year initiative. It started January 1st, 2020, and will end December 31st, 2029. And what it is I want to see the deaths associated with the use of electricity in the residential setting to zero by the year 2029. It's a 10-year initiative, and you'll hear more about that as times come. I want to see, there's no reason with the technology that we have that we should have any deaths associated with the use of electricity in the residential setting. So that's one of my bigger projects I'm working on. I'm also launching the East 10 Electrical Labor Network, and what that is, it's in the very slow stages, and it will only work if our community uses it. But what it's going to be is a network where employees can come on, potential employees can come on and create their profile, and local electrical companies can shop for their profile to offer them a job, and also a place where local electrical contracting companies can come, and supply houses and so on and so forth can come post their jobs for people to browse. So we're going to throw it out there. You'll find, if you're an entrepreneur, you'll put something out and you could fail. You could put something out and it'd be an epic success. So you got to get some tough skin, and it only comes by failing. I've failed at many, many, many things, and I've been successful at many things. So you just got to try. You got to go out there and get it, and you can do it. So one thing that I love about the electrical industry is that no one person knows it all. And the test prep world is no different. One of my favorite teachers that I learned from, when they ship one of their calculations book, they ship with it the errors that they found inside the book on a separate sheet of paper. So you'll find in the test prep world, none of us are perfect. There's a lot of mathematics, a lot of processes going on. So I do want to let you guys know that everybody makes mistakes. We have and are vetting this program to bring you the best information that we can, but everybody make mistakes. If there are mistakes made, we will address them and correct them. You can email me directly at perryhyder@gmail.com. I will get anything corrected that I can. And one thing I want you guys to know, if you're looking for any perfect test prep site or person or whatever, you're never going to find it. So if you guys do find anything, let me know, and we will continue to vet the program to bring you the best information that we can. In the next 10 weeks, we will cover the introduction to the NEC, how to use your index. This is absolutely the key to your passing your exam, is knowing how to use what we call the keyword and index process. We're going to teach you how to tab your code book, load calculations, box fill calculations, pipe fill calculations, voltage drop, motor calculations, classifications and locations. We're going to talk with you about how to sign up for your licensing exam. We're also going to tell you how to prepare the day of the test. So that sounds like a no-brainer, but really, how much you sleep, how much should I test the weeks before the test, what should I eat the night before, what should I eat the day of, and it's just really important to focus on these things, that way you can be as prepared as possible for your exam. I do want to note that we're going to cover transformers, ampacity, basic DC fundamentals. This is not an all-inclusive list, but this is a good idea of what we're going to cover the next 10 weeks. So at the end of the 10 weeks, you will be able to navigate your codebook to answer any of the lookup questions, use the keyword and index process, Have confidence with the calculations that you'll face on your test. Apply what you've learned out in the field. You'll get in the middle of this, and by week 5 and week 6, you'll be like, hey, I do this stuff in the field, and you're just going to be sharper, more efficient, and just a more knowledgeable electrician. You'll be able to help someone else along their journey. The entire Electrical Code Coach program rests on helping people and empowering them to help someone else. I am not the source of all things electrical. I have just put together a program to help you become everything you can be in the electrical industry, and I want you to take that information, share the videos, share what you know from your past and anything else that you've learned or gathered, and I want you to share it with somebody else so they can do it, and share it with someone else, and share it with someone else. And you're going to know how to take your tests with the confidence of passing. I mean, the whole point of the program is to help you become licensed or a card-carrying electrician or certified, whatever that looks like for you. So I want you to have confidence when you go take your test. If you have electrical experience in the field, this course is designed to equip you with the knowledge needed to take your examination, instill in you the pride of being a fully equipped electrician, open up doors for you in the electrical community and in the industry, and it's really just to take you to the next level. Wherever you're at in life, I want to see you moving forward. One quick thing I want to say to you guys is there's 2 types of people in your life. There's weights and there's rafts. So if someone is not a raft, someone who's not lifting you up, someone who's not helping you get to where you need to be, they're by default a weight. And listen, you got to look at the stock of your life and take account of the people who are in your life. I'm not saying you have to necessarily cut everyone out of your life, but if someone's not being a raft to you and they're being a weight, you might want to distance yourself from them while you're in your progress of becoming successful. It's like, I still love you, I just love you from here. So it's one of those things that you have to take account of those who are in your life. And if you're wanting to take it to the next level, if you're changing your life and you're becoming successful, there's going to be people who you leave behind, and you're going to meet new people who will propel you even farther. If you do not have experience in the electrical field, this course is designed to introduce you into the electrical code book and the electrical community, create a spark in you for the electrical industry, help you be far above the average starting apprentice in knowledge and understanding, help you get job placement with one of our committed sponsors. Now, that was a local slide for our area. Our program has offered more than 10 companies who have signed up to guarantee job interviews for those who take it locally. But you can say that you've taken this program and it may help you, but ultimately it'll help you get your license. This program was not designed to help you become a licensed electrician with no experience. I encourage you, you can study this material at any stage, but until you are an electrician with experience, you really should hold back on going to get your license until you've served in the field. Whether you do or do not have experience in the field, this course is not designed to guarantee that you pass the test. Listen, I cannot guarantee that you will put in the work, that you will study the material, and that you will exude the drive that you need to become a licensed electrician or a card-carrying electrician or a certified electrician. I don't know if you have the aptitude to do it. So it's just one of those things that I cannot guarantee that you'll pass the test, but I do know that people have taken this course, studied the material, went and got their license, and now their lives are changed. This is not designed to turn you into an electrician overnight. We never want to see anybody get their license and run out in the field. You absolutely cannot substitute any type of schooling for in-field experience. And this is not going to cover every single question that you could ever face. The testing centers likely have thousands of questions that they pull from to pick your 40 or 100 or however long your test is. So we're not going to cover every single question, but we do want to cover 95% of what you're going to face on your exam, or at least the type questions. That way you can feel confident. And this is not designed to help you grow your hair back. Sorry, fellas. Okay, so how many minutes do you have to answer each question on the LLE electrical licensing test? Now, that is the test that is for our state, but you can fill in some similar information for your state. So the LLE in our state is the initial license, and it has 40 questions on the test, very difficult, and you have 3 minutes and 15 seconds to answer the questions. Now, if you're doing a whole house load calculation or a 7 motors calculation, you're going to want to have more than 3 minutes to answer that question. So you have to become super proficient in answering the lookup questions, which are general questions that you can look up by using the keyword and index process. Okay, so how many minutes do you have to answer each question on the electrical contractor's licensing? In our state, that is the bigger license that is allowed to do. It doesn't separate it by amperage, but it's a monetary limit. So for this test in our state, it's only 2 minutes and 36 seconds. So it's a 100-question test. It's really an endurance test. It's 4 hours long, so you got to be lightning fast at looking this stuff up. I've actually taken both of these tests and passed them both. They're both extremely difficult, and yours may be a little bit different. It's likely not going to be over 4 minutes per question. It's likely going to be around in between the 2 and 3 minute. So you got to be quick at answering these questions. Okay, this is for one of the certification companies. I'm not going to mention which one it is, but this is for electrical inspector certifications. I also have both of these certifications. But how many minutes do you have to answer each question on the E1 inspector certification test? 2 minutes. So when I took my inspector certifications, they do have on them what I call light load calculations, some box fill, pipe fill. I didn't have any whole house load calculations or 20-unit apartment complex with a 3-phase service. So you're going to have 2 minutes per question on these exams. So just make sure you're good at looking questions up. Like I said, I really encourage you guys to go and get your inspector certifications while you're in the testing mode, because you'll learn that a lot of this stuff you don't use every day in the field. So every single time you go back and test, you got to go back and brush up. Thankfully, you guys have these videos. Listen, when I started out, I didn't have anything. I was dead broke. I used lined paper to make tabs with and held it on with Scotch tape. So listen, I'm thankful that you guys have these videos now, so you can go back and you can brush up at any time. But when you're in this testing mode, you're in grind mode, you're in beast mode, what you need to do is go ahead and get every single license or certification. Start with the easiest one, get your foot in your door, build some confidence, and then work your way up, get your inspector certifications, and that way you're just ready and you're stacked. So how many questions do you have on the E2, which is the commercial inspector certification? And it's 2 minutes and 40 seconds. This is a much harder test. And I did pass this one my first time. Others I've had to take multiple times. You'll find out. Don't be discouraged if you got to take a test 2, 3, 4 times, however many times it takes. Listen, when you go apply for a job, they don't ask you how many times you took the test. Nobody cares, okay? It just matters that you got that piece of paper, that card that says, I'm card carrying, a journeyman, masters, or I'm a licensed electrician, whatever that looks like in your state. So when I went to take this test, it was very difficult. I did pass the E1 and the E2 inspector certifications the first time, but that was from years of doing this stuff, and they were extremely difficult. So I encourage you, if you're working on these, keep it up. You can do it. And if you can pass your licensing exam, you can pass your electrical inspector certifications. Okay, so enough with the talk. Let's get to it. What is the purpose of the NEC? So the purpose of the code is the practical safeguarding of property and persons from hazards arising from the use of electricity. Listen, the code isn't intended to be an instruction manual for the untrained persons or an electrical design manual. The code is just there to offer a bare minimum of standards for a safe installation under normal circumstances. 90.1 says NEC code compliant installations are not always convenient, efficient, set up for future expansion, or adequate for good service. Future expansion of a system should be planned but is not code enforceable. The electrical code book is the bare minimum code requirements. So if you've done an NEC compliant installation, you have done the bare minimum. Forbid that you would ever have to go to court or something like that. But the way the lawyer sees it, the way the judge sees it, you have just done the bare minimum. If you've done an NEC installation, you can do so much more. Now, the NEC and the NFPA are absolutely amazing at all that they do for the industry, but that is just the bar. If you've done one, you've not hit a home run, you've just done the bar. You can do so much far above and beyond the code, in all of your installations. The NEC covers the installation and removal of conductors in the following areas: private and public structures, yard lots and parking lots, carnivals and industrial substations, equipment, mobile homes, and floating buildings. So the NEC does not apply to the following installations: utility generation, utility distribution, utility energy storage, or utility metering. Pretty much anything the utility does for their own distribution or generation. So they have their own set of standards that they go by. It's likely, going to be based off the NEC. I don't know. I haven't talked to any of my buddies that work for the power company. But say if they were to put lights out in their parking lot, that installation would be under the NEC. So it's just anything to do with their own distribution and generation. Let's look at the code arrangement in 90.3. Chapters 1 through 4 apply generally to all applications. Chapter 1 is general, then wiring and protection, wiring methods and materials, and equipment for general use. Chapters 5 through 7, after the 2017 edition of the code, supplement or modify chapters 1 through 7. So if there is something in chapter 5 that contradicts something in chapter 3, in that article in chapter 5, it will actually be superseded. It'll supersede chapter 3. But you have to be careful not to take something from hospitals and try to apply it somewhere else, because that only applies to that article. Chapter 8 is not subject to chapters 1 through 7 unless specified, and chapter 8 covers communications. So the tables, which start in chapter 9, will be 1 through 12 tables, and then you're going to get into your annexes, and we're going to learn all about that later into the program. So code enforcement is in 90.4. The code is intended for application by government bodies that exercise jurisdiction over electrical installations. So the AHJ is responsible for interpretation and enforcement of the code. The AHJ just stands for Authority Having Jurisdiction. Let's take a look at Article 100. Okay, so Article 100 is a list of definitions. These are definitions that you're going to want to become familiar with. Article 100 definitions apply code-wide to all articles. So you'll see these definitions flow throughout the entire code book. Sometimes there are definitions at the beginning of an article. We call them the .2 definitions. So I want you right now, take your code book, open up to 250.2, and read a couple of the definitions. Pause the video now if you need to. So .2 definitions apply only to that article. So the definitions that you just read apply only to 250, Article 250. They cannot be taken and used in Article 300 or in Article 220. So those are definitions that apply only to that article. Let's take a look at one of the Article 100 definitions. So this is readily accessible, and you notice for some reason in the code book, if you have a two-word definition sometimes and you can't find it, sometimes try reversing it. This definition is actually readily accessible, but for some reason in the code they list it accessible readily, but it's capable of being reached quickly for operation, renewal, or inspection without requiring those to whom ready access is requisite to actions such as to use tools, climb over or remove obstacles, or resort to portable ladders, and so forth. So what this is this is going to be your breaker panels, your GFCI protection, any type of disconnect is going to be required. I won't say any type of disconnect, but if it contains overcurrent devices in it and it's not a special situation, it's going to be required to be readily accessible, which means you can get to it quickly without having to move a dryer or a washing machine, or not having to crawl under the table to reset the GFCI. So you're going to be pretty familiar with this definition. Like I said, I encourage you to get familiar with your definitions, and as you study and test, things will make more sense to you. Okay, so let's take a look at the definition of ampacity, the maximum current in amperes that a conductor can carry continuously under conditions of use without exceeding its temperature rating. Simply put, ampacity is how many amps a wire can handle without degrading the insulation or the copper or the aluminum or whatever metal it's made out of. So that is the ampacity of a wire, how many amps it can carry safely. Okay, so let's take a look at another one. This is not in Article 100, and I would call it a definition because I've never seen this anywhere. I love putting this in here because only the code book has something like this. So it's one word. It's called workmanlike manner. So mechanical execution of work. Electrical equipment shall be installed in a neat and workmanlike manner. I just always got a kick out of that since the first time I read it. It's hilarious. It's just kind of funny. It applies all along, men and women. Do good work. Listen, we have enough crappy electricians out here. Don't be a crappy electrician. Be a good electrician. Take pride in your work. Do neat, clean installations. Listen, there's only two things in this life that they can't take from you, okay? They can't take what you've invested in other people. They can take your money, they can take your home, they can take your car. They can't take what you've invested in other people, and they can't take your good work. They can run their mouth about you. They can talk about you. Listen, the proof is in the pudding. They can't take what you've invested in other people, and they can't take your good work. So do good work. Okay, so let's get right into it. So this is spaces about electrical equipment. Go ahead and flip in your code book to 110.26. If you need to pause the video, you can do so now. So adequate working space must be provided for electrical equipment. It seems really common sense, but you would be surprised how many people will put concrete pillars, beams, other plumbing and different things inside of the electrical workspace. You're likely going to be tested on this in your examination, so we're going to cover a little bit of it today. So depth of workspace conditions, I want you to go to table 110.26a. 1, and go ahead and pause the video, look around at the table for a minute, and pick it up when you're ready to keep going. The working space is measured from the front of an enclosure. So you start at the front and then go out, and you will move. That's moving out. And if you're doing from side to side, you could pull from either one side, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. Okay, so let's look at depth of workspace in this table, and condition 1. Expose live parts on one side of the working space and no live or grounded parts on the other side of the working space. So this is going to be your typical, panel. You can look in front of it. There's nothing behind you, nothing grounded or nothing energized behind you. Okay, so depth of workspace, condition 2 is expose live parts on one side of the working space and grounded parts, including concrete, brick, or tile on the other side. So in this case, it's going to be one side or the other. They're going to be really pushing it for their 30 inches, measured from the left-hand side going over or vice versa. And it's really going to be pushing it, but I think it's just inside. So that's going to have grounded parts on one side. So you're going to want to be very careful when you're in this area, because if you were touching the brick or the rock, according to the code book in this statement, it's saying that you're grounded, and likely the electrons would flow through you if you were on it with a tool that was not insulated, or if you landed on it in any other manner. You're likely going to be shocked in this case. So you just have to be real careful in situations like that, and that's why we consider working space at all is for the safety of the installer or those who must maintenance or maintain. So condition 3 is expose live parts on both sides of the working space. If you look at this, it's very, if you look on the far right side there, you're going to be able to access both sides of those panel and be able to get in them at the same time, and that's going to give you the condition 3. Okay, so this is a picture I actually pulled from the field. So what is the issue here? I'll give you a heads up because depth perception is a little bit off here, but there's like 10 inches in between the wall and that air conditioning unit. So obviously you can see here there's not going to be 36 inches in front of that, which would be required. So we ended up having to move we didn't have to move the disconnect. We offered to move the disconnect so they didn't have to move their machine. Same thing here. This is a service call I went to. I don't remember what we were doing, but you can see here, do you want to work inside of that panel? Because I really didn't. So I had to take off this old rust bucket, door on the side, and, I'm grounded absolutely completely. So it's just one of those things that you really don't ever want to work in a situation like that. Awesome. So we are going to get right into the questions, and we're going to go over a question without our tabs first so you can see the difference that the tabs make. Okay, so what is the minimum working space required in front of electrical equipment that has exposed live parts on one side and no live or grounded parts on the other side, where the voltages are 150 volts to ground or less? So you've got some options here. I do want to note that you always want to read the question and answers at least twice. That way you can know where you're looking in the code book, and if one of the answers pops out, you'll be able to, recall that it was in your question. So let's open up our index. It's in the back of your code book. Like I said, we're going to do one question before we install the tabs so you can feel the pain. So with almost every question, you're going to head straight to the index and use the keyword and index process. Later in the game, you're going to be able to flip to a couple sections, but we're going to show you why you'll never just want to bruise through your code book trying to find answers. You just don't have the time to do it. So we're going to teach you how to use your keyword and index process so you can be lightning fast. Sometimes they will put information in the question that has nothing to do with your answers to distract you. We're going to learn how to use the keyword and index process and pick apart the question to find it in the codebook. So let's look at the question again. What are they really asking about? What is the overarching theme of this question? What is the minimum working space? That is the theme of your question, minimum working space. Okay, so let's look under W and see if we can find anything about working space. Okay, so I want you to look in your index under W and see if you can find anything about working space. If you need to pause the video, you can do so now. Under W, we do find working space. Okay, so we feel like we're in the right place in our index under working space. Now we need to look for more keywords that are in our question. So you're kind of going to look for your next theme. So what is the minimum working space in front of electrical equipment? All of this other information is important, but really right now you're just trying to pick out the keywords. What is the question really asking? It's asking the workspace in front of electrical equipment. So now I want you to look down under the workspace heading in your index and see if you can find anything about electrical equipment. Pause the video now if you need to. So as we look down the list, we find a heading about electrical equipment. What is the minimum working space in front of electrical equipment? So we found both of our keywords. We notice that there are several different code articles that it refers us to. So we're going to flip to the first article. You always do them in order. We're going to flip to the first article, but we're going to keep our finger or a piece of paper in the index just in case we have to flip back. You do not want to abandon your spot in the index and then have to start all over. Oftentimes you have to go to one or more code articles before you find that you're in the right section. So we flip to 110.26. And you're going to start reading the black bold headings. When you feel like you're in the right space and you're reading about, in this case, electrical equipment, you're reading about workspace, you look at the black bold headings. I want you to go ahead and flip to 110.26 and you'll see what I'm talking about. Now that you feel like you're in the right section, you start looking at black bold headings until you pick out more keywords that are in your question. We know we're in the right place. We notice then a table talking about working spaces. So we look at the table. It's right here on page 47 of the 2017 NEC. And in the bottom right-hand side, we notice a table. If you do not find what you're looking for right away, but you feel like you're in the right section, always look at the surrounding pages. Check the page before and the page after if you really feel like you're in the right section when you're looking up a question. Now let's see if we can find some more information from our question. In this case, there are some parameters. It's saying that there's exposed live parts on one side and none on the other, and it's 150 volts to ground or less. So, what is our answer? If you need to pause the video, do so now. The answer is 3 feet. So, you've just found and completed your first keyword and index process, and you just looked up your first question in the codebook. Congratulations! Now let's stop and learn how to install our tabs into our codebook. If you've not picked up your tabs yet, you can go to electricalcodecoach.com. We offer them for the same price as everybody else, and we also offer them with free shipping. If you're unable to purchase tabs right now, don't worry. When I started, we were absolutely dead broke, and I had to make my own tabs with lined paper and Scotch tape, and that's actually how I got my electrical license. So listen, you got to grind with what you got until you get it. So if you're broke, just do what you can. If you're not, go ahead and get your codebook tabs. You're welcome to continue watching the videos, but they are going to be better suited when you have tabbed your codebook manually or you've bought the tabs and installed them. So we're going to insert that video now. Please enjoy. Now let's try the next question with our new codebook tabs installed. For equipment rated 1200 amps or more and over 6 foot wide containing switching devices, overcurrent devices, or control devices, there shall be an entrance to and egress from the required working space not less than 24 inches wide and must be blank feet high and located at each end of the working space. So we've got some options here. Like I said, you're always going to want to read your question twice. So we're going to flip open to our index. With almost every question, you're going to flip straight to the index. Okay, so this is going over the question again. Let's look and see if we can pull out the overall theme of this question. So it is talking about equipment, but specifically it's talking about the working space. So we're dealing with equipment, but the working space is more specific. So let's look for working space in the index. Now that you've installed your nice new tabs, take a moment, find the W, and flip over to working space. Under W, we do find working space. Now, if we feel like we're in the right place in the index, under the workspace heading, we're going to start looking for more keywords. Again, in this question, it's talking about equipment. So if you look at the two overall themes, it's working space and equipment. Those are your keywords. So as we look down the list, sure enough, we find about electrical equipment. We notice that there are several different code articles that we could go to. So we are going to flip to the first one, but we're going to keep our finger or paper on the back of the index just in case we have to flip back. We flip to 110.26. Go ahead and flip there now. Pause the video if you need to. We start reading the black bold headings in this section. We know that we're in the right area, so we're going to look at all the black bold headings until we pick out more keywords. We notice a table about workspace. But if we look closely at this table, it's dealing with voltage, and our question is dealing with amperage. Okay, so we flip and keep reading the black bold headings. I want to note again, if you do not find what you're looking for, but you feel like you're in the right section, you're going to look at the surrounding pages. Sometimes you have to look before, sometimes you have to look after. I'm teaching you this, and it seems painfully slow right now, and it's going to be slow over the first 4 video lessons, but you will learn that you are learning a process that you can look up any code question in the code book without hesitation. Even out in the field, you can turn any problem that you have into a question, write it down on a piece of paper, do it in your mind, and you can use the keyword and index process and look up the answer with this process. Okay, so we flip over and keep reading the headings. Halfway down the page, we're going to find something about large equipment. So we're dealing with large equipment. It said over 1200 amps. So you must scroll through the code book to find your keywords to the questions, and right under large equipment, we see 1200 amps, which is a keyword in our question. As we keep reading, we quickly find out that our question is almost word for word what we're looking at. So we're going to select B, 6.5. And I do want to note that you're always going to have 4 choices to choose from. Always double check your selection. It's very easy to click the wrong one if you're in a hurry. So just take your time and slow down. I want to thank you for joining us for the first week of the Electrical Code Coach training program. We build very slowly at first because we're leading into very complicated processes later in the series. But when you get done with the entire program, you will be able to go take your test and have confidence when you go take it. So I know it's hard. I know it's very slow at first. This may be review for some of you, but if you follow the program and stick to the steps, you will be able to go get your license, get your card, get your certifications, whatever you're looking for. Thank you. Please join us on YouTube, like and subscribe, and check out electricalcodecoach.com. Thank you.